The withdrawal. The council chamber fell silent when Ambassador Chen finished speaking. The representatives from 47 species sat in their designated sections, waiting for the explosion of anger they expected from humanity. Instead, Chen simply placed a data tablet on the central podium and stepped back. "We understand your decision," Chen said quietly. "Humanity will comply with the new restrictions immediately." Councillor Vexith of the Tellurian Empire leaned forward, his crystalline features reflecting confusion. He had prepared 17 counterarguments to human protests. He had readied security forces in case of threats. He had even composed a speech about the necessity of limiting human expansion for the good of the galaxy. None of it was needed. "You accept these terms without negotiation?" Vexith asked, suspicion creeping into his translated voice. Chen nodded once. "We accept. The restrictions are clear. Human vessels will withdraw from all patrol zones in non-human space within 30 standard days. Our monitoring stations in the outer dark regions will be deactivated. Our scout networks will cease operations beyond Sol system boundaries. Our defensive fleet positions will be abandoned. We will restrict all human activity to our designated sectors." "That is reasonable," Councillor Marivex of the Shalene Confederacy said slowly. The insectoid representative had expected days of argument. "We appreciate humanity's cooperation." "Of course," Chen replied. His face showed no emotion. "We have always respected Council authority. If the galaxy believes humanity's presence in deep space creates tension, we will remove that presence. Effective immediately, all human ships are being recalled." Chen picked up his tablet and walked toward the exit. He paused at the doorway and turned back one final time. "One thing before I leave," he said. "When we shut down our deep space monitoring network, there will be a gap in threat detection. Our systems currently track approximately 40,000 objects of interest across the outer regions. The Council may wish to establish replacement surveillance." He paused. "Good luck with that." The door closed behind him. For several minutes, the Council chamber remained quiet. Then Councillor Vexith activated his communication link. "Send word to all Tellurian trade vessels. The human patrol routes are being abandoned. They may resume using the shorter paths through the Viridian cluster." Across the chamber, similar messages were sent. The Shalene reopened mining operations in previously dangerous asteroid fields. The Corthian merchant guilds rerouted their convoys through regions humans had warned them to avoid. The plenary science expedition launched toward a dark space anomaly that human scouts had marked as hazardous. Within the first week, the galaxy celebrated. Human warships that had maintained silent vigil over trade routes for decades withdrew. Human scout posts that had monitored the dark regions for centuries went dark. Human crisis response teams that had intercepted threats before they reached civilized space packed their equipment and departed. The Tellurian news networks declared it a victory for galactic sovereignty. The Shalene trade journals predicted unprecedented economic growth. The Council published a statement praising humanity's cooperation and maturity. Ambassador Chen watched these broadcasts from his office on the Human Embassy station. His aide, Commander Williams, stood beside him with a concerned expression. "Sir, the Council doesn't understand what we were actually doing out there," Williams said. "They think we were just posturing. Showing force. They don't realize." "They will realize," Chen interrupted quietly. "Give it time. The galaxy is about to learn a very expensive lesson about the difference between protection and conquest. We spent 200 years quietly handling problems before they became crises. We mapped every danger. We tracked every threat. We stopped slavers before they reached populated worlds. We intercepted pirate fleets before they attacked trade routes. We monitored dark space for things the Council doesn't even have names for yet. And now?" Chen turned away from the screen. "Now we let them handle it themselves. We tried to explain what was out there. We submitted reports. We showed evidence. They accused us of exaggerating threats to justify military expansion. So now they can face those threats alone. How long do you think it will take for them to notice? Maybe a month. For them to understand the full scope. 6 months. For them to beg us to come back. Chen allowed himself a thin smile. That depends on how much pride they're willing to swallow. On the 4th week after the human withdrawal, the first cracks appeared. A Tellurian merchant convoy disappeared in the Viridian cluster. Search parties found debris and no survivors. A Shalene mining operation went silent in the asteroid fields. A Corthian passenger liner was attacked by pirates that seemed to know exactly when and where to strike. The plenary science expedition vanished entirely, their last transmission a garbled scream about something emerging from dark space. The council called an emergency session. Councillor Vexith stood before the chamber, his crystalline features now showing distress instead of triumph. We have experienced several unfortunate incidents, he began carefully. It appears that certain regions of space are more hazardous than our initial assessments indicated. The council proposes establishing a new monitoring network to track. Where are the humans? Someone shouted from the gallery. Vexith hesitated. The humans are in their designated sectors, as per the restrictions this council imposed. Then bring them back. We cannot simply reverse our decision after 18 ships have vanished in 4 weeks. Councillor Marivex interrupted, her mandibles clicking with agitation. Our trade routes are collapsing. Pirates operate with impunity. Things are moving in dark space that our sensors cannot identify. Where were these threats when humans patrolled these regions? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Chen watched the broadcast and said nothing. He had warned them. Humanity had spent 2 centuries being the galaxy's unseen guardian, asking for nothing in return except the freedom to continue their work. The council had interpreted that dedication as aggressive expansion. Now they would learn what the galaxy looked like without humanity's protection. The lesson was just beginning. The price of pride. 3 months after humanity's withdrawal, the Galactic Council faced a crisis they could no longer ignore. The emergency session chamber was packed with representatives demanding answers, security, protection. The calm order that had characterized council proceedings for centuries had dissolved into barely controlled chaos. Councillor Vexith stood at the central podium, trying to maintain dignity while reading a report that detailed the galaxy's rapid deterioration. His crystalline hands trembled slightly as he scrolled through the data. In the 93 days since human forces withdrew from non-human space, we have documented the following incidents, he began. 247 merchant vessels lost or captured. 17 colonies subjected to slaver raids. 41 mining operations destroyed or abandoned. 32 science expeditions declared missing. And he paused, his voice faltering, 14 entire settlements have gone dark with no explanation. What about our own security forces? Demanded Ambassador Torvik of the Corthian Merchant Alliance. We have fleets. We have defense networks. Why can't we handle these threats? Councillor Marivex activated her station display, projecting a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red markers indicated incidents. They spread across the outer regions like a disease, concentrated in areas that had once been patrolled by human ships. Our forces are designed for territorial defense, Marivex explained, her mandibles clicking with frustration. We defend our worlds, our stations, our established space. The humans were doing something different. They were hunting threats before those threats reached our territories. They were tracking pirate organizations across multiple sectors. They were monitoring dark space for anomalies that don't register on our sensors. They created an entire intelligence network that we didn't even know existed because it worked so well that we never saw the problems it prevented. We have access to their reports, Vexith added. Humanity submitted detailed documentation of their activities for 2 centuries. I reviewed them after the withdrawal began. Do you know what I found? He pulled up a document and displayed it for all to see. In 1 month, just 1 month, human forces intercepted 47 slaver vessels before they reached populated areas, eliminated 6 pirate bases that were planning coordinated attacks on trade routes, and redirected or destroyed 9 dark space objects classified as existential threats. Every month for 200 years, they filed similar reports. We archived them without reading them. We thought they were exaggerating to justify their presence. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. They weren't exaggerating, Maravek said quietly. They were protecting us. And we ordered them to stop. Then we asked them to resume, Torvik said. We made a mistake. We admit it. Surely humanity will understand. Will they? Maravek interrupted. We publicly accused them of militaristic expansion. We questioned their motives. We imposed restrictions that essentially called them a threat to galactic peace. And when they accepted our decision without argument, we celebrated it as a victory. Now we want to tell them we were wrong. That we need them after all. Pride is expensive, Vexith muttered. But survival is more important. I will contact Ambassador Chen immediately. The communication link was established within minutes. Ambassador Chen appeared on the display, his expression neutral and professional. Behind him, through the window of his office, Earth hung in the void like a blue jewel. Counselor Vexith, Chen acknowledged. How can humanity assist the Council today? The formal politeness in his voice made Vexith's task even more difficult. Ambassador, the Council recognizes that certain situations have developed in regions where human forces previously operated. We would like to discuss the possibility of resuming some level of. I'm sorry to interrupt, Chen said, not sounding sorry at all, but I need clarification. Is the Council requesting that humanity resume operations in non-human space? We are suggesting a limited partnership, Vexith said carefully. Perhaps joint patrols in certain high-risk regions. Limited partnership, Chen repeated. Joint patrols. In other words, you want us to protect your trade routes and monitor your borders, but only in specific areas and only under Council oversight. Is that correct? We believe a cooperative approach would benefit all parties. No. The simple word cut through Vexith's diplomatic language like a blade. No. Vexith echoed. No, Chen repeated. Humanity has complied with every restriction the Council imposed. We withdrew our forces. We deactivated our monitoring networks. We abandoned our patrol routes and defensive positions. We did exactly what you asked us to do. Now you want us to come back, but only partially, and only on your terms. That's not how this works. Ambassador, please understand. I understand perfectly, Chen said. His voice remained calm, but something cold flickered in his eyes. For 2 centuries, humanity operated in the outer regions. We didn't do it for glory or recognition. We did it because someone needed to do it, and no one else would. We filed reports. We showed evidence. We warned the Council about specific threats. You ignored us. You accused us of creating problems to justify our presence. You decided we were the threat the galaxy needed protection from. So we left. We walked away in silence. And now the galaxy is learning what we were actually protecting them from. People are dying, Maravek said, joining the transmission. Entire colonies are being enslaved. Trade routes are collapsing. We need help. Yes, Chen agreed. You do need help. The question is whether you're willing to let humanity provide it without constantly questioning our motives, restricting our operations, and treating us like a threat that needs to be managed. What are you asking for? Vexith demanded. Freedom to operate, Chen said simply. No restrictions on where our ships can go or what threats we can address. No Council oversight of our defensive operations. No political barriers to us doing what needs to be done. You want humanity to protect the galaxy? Then trust us to do it our way. Otherwise, you can handle these problems yourselves. That's asking us to give you unlimited military authority, Torvik objected. No, Chen corrected. That's asking you to stop interfering with something that was working perfectly well before you decided it needed to be fixed. Humanity spent 2 centuries protecting the galaxy without asking for territory, resources, or political power. We simply did what was right. That hasn't changed. But we won't do it while you tie our hands and question every decision we make. Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the council chamber. Emergency alerts flooded every screen. Marivex pulled up the incoming data and her mandibles locked in a paralyzed expression of horror. What is it? Vexith asked. Dark space breach, Marivex whispered. Sector 9. Something massive just emerged from the void. Multiple contacts. Thousands of them. They're moving toward the plenary colonies. Chen's expression didn't change, but he leaned forward slightly. Send me the data. Marivex transferred the information immediately. Chen reviewed it for approximately 30 seconds, and every species in the council chamber watched his face carefully, hoping to see something other than the grim certainty that settled into his features. That's a Dravik swarm, Chen said finally. We encountered them once before, 40 years ago, near human space. It took 6 months and 17 battle fleets to stop them. They consume everything organic. They don't negotiate. They don't retreat. They just spread and consume until there's nothing left. How do we fight them? Vexith asked desperately. Chen looked directly at the counselor. You don't. Your fleets aren't designed for this kind of threat. Your ships are too slow. Your weapons are too weak. Your tactics are built for territorial defense, not for hunting a swarm that adapts and spreads faster than you can respond. The Dravik will consume the plenary colonies, then spread to the next system, and the next, and keep spreading until they've consumed every world in this sector. Then we're doomed, Marivex said. The Council is doomed, Chen corrected. Humanity will survive. We've already sealed our borders. The swarm can't reach us. But the rest of you? He shook his head slowly. You have maybe 3 months before they reach the core worlds. After that, it's just math. They'll consume faster than you can evacuate. The council chamber was completely silent. Chen leaned back in his chair. But there is another option. What option? Vexith demanded. You could ask humanity for help. The return. The silence in the council chamber stretched for several heartbeats after Chen's words. Every representative understood what he was asking. It wasn't about strategy or tactics. It was about trust. About admitting they had been wrong. About accepting that humanity had never been the threat they needed protection from. Counselor Vexith was the first to speak. His crystalline form seemed to dim slightly, as if the light inside him had faded. Ambassador Chen, he said slowly, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally request humanity's assistance in defending against the Dravik swarm. We acknowledge that our previous restrictions were. He paused, searching for the right words, a mistake. We misunderstood your intentions. We ask for your help. Not as limited partners. Not under council oversight. We ask you to defend the galaxy the way you always have. With full operational freedom. Chen studied the counselor for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than before. What you're asking for is substantial. Humanity will need to deploy every available fleet. We'll need unrestricted access to all sectors. Our casualties will likely be significant. And after this crisis ends, the Council may once again decide we're too powerful, too dangerous, too present. We'll be back here in another decade, having this same conversation. Then we will deserve whatever consequences follow, Marivex said. But right now, billions of lives hang in the balance. If humanity still cares about protecting those lives, we are asking you to do so. Please. Chen closed his eyes briefly, then nodded. Humanity will respond. But understand something first. We're not doing this because the Council finally asked nicely. We're doing this because it's right. Because there are people out there who need protection, and we have the capability to provide it. That's who we've always been. That hasn't changed, no matter what you thought of us. He tapped his console. I'm authorizing immediate deployment. Human fleets will reach the Dravik swarm in 72 hours. In the meantime, evacuate every settlement in Sector 9 and the adjacent systems. Get as many people to safety as possible. We'll handle the swarm. The transmission ended. For several minutes, the council chamber remained quiet. Then activity exploded. Evacuation orders were issued. Military forces were repositioned to support the human operation. Communication channels opened as the galaxy prepared for the largest defensive operation in its history. Ambassador Torvik approached Vexith as the chamber cleared. Do you think they can actually stop it? One species against a swarm that size? Vexith pulled up the data humanity had submitted over 2 centuries. The reports they had ignored. The warnings they had dismissed. The evidence of countless threats humanity had quietly eliminated before anyone else even knew they existed. They already stopped it once, Vexith said quietly. 40 years ago. Do you know why we never heard about it? Because humanity didn't publicize their victory. They didn't demand recognition. They simply eliminated the threat and filed a report that we archived without reading. That's who they are. That's who they've always been. 72 hours later, the first human battle fleets emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Sector 9. What the Council saw on their long-range sensors shocked them into silence. Human ships weren't like Council vessels. They were darker, more angular, covered in weapons and armor that suggested they had been designed for exactly this kind of fight. The fleets moved with precision that indicated centuries of practice. They established perimeter positions, deployed sensor networks, and launched scout wings before the Council forces even finished reorganizing their defensive lines. Admiral Zhao commanded the operation from the bridge of the UHSV Relentless, humanity's largest battle carrier. She opened a general channel to all Council forces in the sector. This is Admiral Zhao of the United Human Space Forces. All non-human vessels are ordered to fall back to evacuation support duties. We'll handle the swarm. Your job is to get everyone to safety. Don't engage the Dravik. Don't try to help us. Just protect the evacuees and stay out of our way. Understood? There was no arrogance in her voice. Just the calm certainty of someone who had done this before and knew exactly what needed to happen. The Dravik swarm spread across the sector like a dark tide. Millions of bioships, each one a living weapon designed to consume and replicate. They moved with terrifying purpose, converging on the nearest populated worlds. The human fleets met them in the empty space between stars. What followed wasn't a battle. It was execution. Human warships fired weapons the Council had never seen before. Munitions that created expanding fields of energy that disrupted the swarm's coordination. Missiles that burrowed into Dravik bioships and destroyed them from within. And when the Dravik adapted, as they always did, the human tactics changed immediately to counter the adaptation. Admiral Zhao commanded from the center of the fleet, directing 17 battle groups simultaneously, responding to threats before Council sensors even registered them. Her ships moved like they were part of a single organism, coordinating attacks with precision that seemed almost impossible. The swarm tried to flank. Human destroyers intercepted and eliminated the flanking force. The swarm tried to overwhelm with numbers. Human carriers deployed fighter wings that moved through the Dravik formations like deadly shadows, striking critical points and withdrawing before retaliation. The swarm tried to adapt its bioships. Human weapons adapted faster. Council observers watched in stunned silence as humanity systematically dismantled a threat that would have consumed their entire civilization. This wasn't defense. This was extermination. This was what humanity had been doing for 2 centuries in the dark places the Council never visited. The battle lasted 11 days. When it ended, the Dravik swarm had been completely destroyed. Not scattered. Not driven back. Destroyed. Every bioship eliminated. Every trace of the swarm purged from the sector. Human casualties were significant. 47 ships destroyed. Thousands of personnel lost. But the galaxy had been saved. Admiral Zhao sent her final report to the Council. It was brief. Sector 9 is clear. The Dravik swarm has been eliminated. All Council settlements are secure. Human forces will remain on station for 30 days to ensure no remnants survived. After that, we'll resume patrol operations in all outer sectors. Send evacuation data to our logistics teams and we'll coordinate return operations for displaced populations. Zhao out. The Council held an emergency session the next day. Ambassador Chen attended via transmission. He looked tired. Everyone in the chamber knew humanity had paid a heavy price for their protection. Councillor Vexith stood and faced Chen directly. Ambassador, on behalf of the Galactic Council and every species represented here, I offer humanity our deepest gratitude. You saved billions of lives. You stopped a threat that would have destroyed our civilization. And you did it without hesitation, despite how we treated you. We owe you a debt we can never fully repay. You don't owe us anything, Chen said quietly. This is what we do. This is who we are. We protect. We defend. Not for recognition or reward. We do it because it's right. We do it because someone has to. And we'll keep doing it, whether you trust us or not, because the galaxy needs guardians who operate in the dark places and handle the threats that never reach the news broadcasts. He paused, then added, but I hope this experience has taught you something important. The next time humanity is out there, quietly doing work you don't see, perhaps you'll trust that we're doing it for the right reasons. Perhaps you'll stop questioning our motives and start appreciating that we're the reason you can sleep safely at night. Because the galaxy is a dangerous place, and humanity has been walking in that darkness for a very long time. Councillor Maravek spoke next. We understand now. The restrictions we imposed have been permanently lifted. Human forces have full operational freedom throughout the galaxy. We will never again question your right to operate where you deem necessary. We accept, Chen said. But understand something. When the next crisis comes, and it will come, we'll handle it the same way we always have. Quietly. Efficiently. Without fanfare. You probably won't even know it happened. You'll just wake up one day and everything will still be safe, and you won't know why. That's how we prefer it. Why? Torvik asked. Why not take credit? Why not demand recognition for what you do? Chen smiled slightly. Because the day we start protecting the galaxy for recognition is the day we stop being worthy of the trust you're placing in us. Heroes who need applause aren't heroes. They're performers. Humanity doesn't perform. We serve. We protect. And we do it in silence because that's what real protection looks like. The best security is the kind you never notice because it prevents problems before they become visible. He stood up. Now if you'll excuse me, I have casualty reports to review and families to contact. Thousands of humans died protecting your worlds. They deserve my attention more than this council does. The transmission ended. In the weeks that followed, human ships returned to their patrol routes. Monitoring stations reactivated. Scout networks resumed operations. The deep space surveillance network came back online. And slowly, quietly, without anyone noticing, the galaxy returned to normal. Trade routes stabilized. Pirate attacks stopped. Slaver operations were disrupted. Dark space anomalies were tracked and neutralized. Everything returned to the way it had been before the Council's restrictions. The galaxy continued spinning. People went about their lives. And humanity walked in the darkness between the stars, watching, protecting, defending. In silence. Exactly the way they always had.